Do you remember being a kid and going away to summer camp? I do. Specifically, I remember going to Bible camp. I went 2 years in a row. It was at least a few hours away from home up north, but I got a ride with some friends whose parents made them go. For these maybe not so coincidental reasons, I wasn't able to get picked up if I was having a bad time, or getting bullied, or if I felt homesick. I suffered all these tragedies at one point or another, and today I'm thankful for them. It was a great way to build a bit of character and self-identity for my younger 13 and 14-year-old self. It was here at Christian Bible Camp, ironically, that I met a girl everyone called Angel. I'm not sure if that was her real name or the name she chose to give herself while at camp. Either way, that's what everybody called her. Angel was mysterious and alluring. She had a dark charm, more mischievous than typical preppy girls that usually went to summer Bible camp. But that's not important to the story. What is important is that she was the biggest crush I ever had, and I think she crushed on me too because it was her who introduced me to a game called Chicken. It's a simple game with simple rules. You and your crush find a quiet place to be alone, preferably somewhere you won't easily be found by the camp counselors or any friends. You sit cross-legged facing one another, looking into each other's eyes. You place your hands on the top of each other's heads. You and your crush take a turn slowly dragging their hand downwards, from the top of their head, to their cheek, to their chin. Continue slowly, daring yourself to go further. Your hand grazes her neck, her shoulders, her collarbone. You feel her heart flutter in her chest, or maybe it's your own. Her breath is soft and shallow. You hook a finger underneath the spaghetti strap on her crop top shirt and slowly drag the strap towards her. Chicken! When your crush yells chicken, you must remove your hand immediately and place it back on top of her head. Now it's her turn until you yell chicken yourself. A good guideline I learned to follow: never let your crush play for longer or further than she was comfortable with you playing. If you do, she'll tell her friends you're a creep, and that will be your last time playing. A good chicken story could rival even the most haunting campfire story or late-night urban legends. Makes sense. A cabin full of hormonal teen boys eating candy bars in bed after the counselors had called for lights out. Truly, the only place in world designed to talk about girls. Like any great urban legend, nobody would ever believe the story was true, no matter how convincing. Especially if you mentioned going all the way or played with the hottest girl at camp. It sounds like a silly, immature game, but as a young boy, it was new and exciting. The exhilaration caused by the sexual orientation of the game was a new sensation for a kid, just barely starting the journey of finding themselves, which only added to the experience. It was risky too. Getting caught by a camp counselor would no doubt have severe consequences, but that was almost as fun as the act of the game itself. There's only one other experience in my adult life I've had that can match to the thrill I felt playing chicken for the first time, and that's the tape. That's why I've labeled the otherwise blank tape as Chicken, my extensive collection of films. I'm something of a cinephile, you see, and have seen just about every horror movie I've been able to put my hands on. But there's nothing else on earth like this depraved VHS. Like Chicken, it's the perfect cocktail of exploration, curiosity, excitement, and danger. There is no other film like it. I would bet my life on it. In fact, I intend to. I first discovered the tape at my in-laws' house before I married their daughter. I was there to help them get out of a bit of trouble. They could be considered to be mild hoarders, and had received a threat of eviction from their landlord after he had seen the mess in their garage. When I arrived, it was clear why the landlord was so upset. The garage was stacked floor to ceiling with boxes, and the basement wasn't any better either. They held on to some of the most redundant stuff you could imagine. Old newspaper clippings, broken fishing rods, odd bits of wood, useless items you wouldn't dare bring to the thrift store out of sheer embarrassment, even if it would save you the high dumping fee you'd pay at a waste management facility. Junk to you, or I, but to her parents, these items were trinkets that held precious value, one of many consequences of growing up poor during the Second World War. It was up to me and my truck to haul this treasured junk away and save them from their landlord's fury. And though they didn't agree, save them from themselves. Halfway through the second day, I found a box filled with VHS tapes. I was thrilled at first. What rare movie might be here for me to shelve back at my place? I was promptly disappointed as I rummaged through the collection. It was mostly recorded birthday parties, and there was nothing in the box that piqued my interest. Except, of course, for the tape. While the others were all placed nicely in their cardboard sleeves, the tape was wrapped up in an unwashed kitchen towel. This plain black VHS tape cassette had residue on its housing where a sticker had previously been and later peeled off. That wasn't what intrigued me, however. There was also an engraving etched into the black plastic. It looked to have been carved on its surface using a very sharp razor blade. It read, runtime 480 minutes. This is impossible. A standard VHS tape has about 1,400 feet of tape inside. Any more than that, and the manufacturer would have to use thinner material in order for it to fit the reel. The thinner tape would of course compromise the video quality of the film, and therefore would not be sold to the general public. The playtime 1,400 feet of tape gives us is never more than 5 hours, or 300 minutes. When I got home that night, I immediately rewound the tape, put it in the VCR and hit play. Ever since then, I've coveted the tape. It's been my precious secret. A secret that I've kept from everyone, even my friends. I hide it when people come over, but as soon as they leave, it returns to its rightful place amongst the rest of my collection. I know how it sounds, but being the only person who knows about the tape is making me crazy. I can't keep it to myself anymore, which is why, for the sake of my own sanity, I'm giving you my confession. I need you to promise me you'll tell no one. No one. In fact, burn this when you're finished with it. This will be our secret alone. I've carefully studied the tape over the years. With each viewing, I've pushed myself a little further to watch a bit longer than the last time, despite the risks. I've been playing chicken, just like at camp. With each showing I sat through, the more I began to see the patterns emerge. These patterns make up the rules and guidelines you must follow when watching the tape. The rules are absolute and unchanging. The guidelines also follow rules of their own, yet they're frightening to me because they aren't consistent. The rules of the chicken tape. The tape will not play in the machine unless it's been rewound from the beginning. You cannot fast forward or rewind the tape once it begins to play. You can only press pause. If you do press pause, the tape will not allow you to resume and must be rewound. If you look away from the television screen, the tape will pause. If you close your eyes for longer than 3 seconds, the tape will pause. The rules are understood. I will try my best to explain the guidelines of the tape to you from the beginning to, well, not necessarily the end, but as far as I've been able to watch. The tape is placed into the VCR. You hear the buzzing and clunking of the gears within the machine as it accepts the tape, and the reel starts whirring over the footage. The screen begins to display the footage, bars of fuzzy white lines panning diagonally across the blackish gray void behind them. The tape always begins this way, but for how long it endures is our first guideline. Sometimes the tape will play the white noise mess of unused tape for 30 seconds, but I've timed it at almost 20 minutes before. The fuzzy bars intensify, becoming more numerous and sporadic, until a grainy image begins to slowly fade in from the darkness. You can tell that the footage was shot on an early model camera from the 90s. The quality is low and grainy. What you're watching is footage from a camera that is resting on a table, or something, and someone has just left it there to record. As you watch, you might start to notice that the room that's being filmed looks very familiar. The walls are the same color as the ones in your dining room. Painting on the wall, you have that painting. The opening location when viewing the film is always a different place, but it's always somewhere within your own home. Again, the length of time this lasts is a guideline, sometimes a few minutes, and sometimes up to 30. Eventually, the cameraman, as I call it, always picks up the camera and starts to pan the room with it. It slowly starts to walk around the house, recording every detail of each room it encounters. You continue to watch. Fear slowly creeps in as you realize that the footage being presented to you on the TV appears to be a live feed of someone walking around in your house. Although the footage and the tape are from over 2 decades ago, the recording and whatever filmed it is giving you a tour of your home as it is presently. I've tried different variations myself, like changing rooms where I watch, time of day, even different VCRs. The footage will adjust itself to remain up to date with my changes. You never see the cameraman. It avoids pointing the camera towards any mirrors or other reflective surfaces, like chrome that might render a clue as to who is holding the camera. The footage is shot from an angle that gives the impression the recording device being held by a human at chest height. It meanders about, examining every corner of every room it enters. What it's looking for, I'm not sure. I've done a few experiments, rearranging items in the rooms before viewing. They show up on the tape where I leave them. During one session, the cameraman filmed itself pulling back the shower curtain, and it was drawn when I went to go investigate after watching. I remember hearing the curtain slide along the rail as it was being pulled back with anger. Not only in the recording through the television speakers, but in the bathroom, from my position on the couch. Sometimes you can hear its heavy breath in the recording. Once I had a viewing session where the cameraman knocked over a flower vase I left on the corner of my wife's side of the dresser. It was impossible to get all the dirt stains from the carpet fibers. I had to make up an excuse as to how it had been broken. She can never know about the tape. From behind me is the direction the cameraman always makes its final approach. The cameraman always chooses to save the room you're watching the tape in as the last room of the tour. You know when the tour is almost over, the footage on the screen turns into an endless repeating void as the footage points into itself. This climax includes you sitting down in front of the TV, watching the back of your own head being crept up on. You can feel the presence of something in the room with you. You're not alone, like you're supposed to be. You can feel there's something behind you. The cameraman will walk right up behind you, slowly making its way to the back of your neck before... Chicken! You just broke the rules. You looked away from the screen. You looked behind you. There's nothing there. No one. The TV screen is paused on the last still shot of the recording before you broke the rules. It's a grainy still of your own face looking directly into the camera with a look of absolute fear. Your mouth is stretched impossibly wide into a morbid scream. Your eyes are black and soulless. Maybe what you saw in that final shot scared the life out of them. You'll never know, because you didn't see the cameraman. You broke the rules of the chicken tape, and it vanished before you could see it. But not before the camera's footage could grab a still of your reaction to it. A reaction you have no memory of. Now I've told you about the tape. Watch it with me tonight. I'm going to watch it until the end. And I need someone here with me to stop me from turning away. I'm a coward and I can't help but break the rules. Force me to be brave, tie me up, keep my head in place, and force my eyes open for me. I need to know how it ends. I'm a cinephile. I've watched every horror movie from start to finish I've been able to get my hands on. I must know how it ends.